Katagonia's Guide for Zoom Users. Panduan Katagonia untuk pengguna Zoom. Saat ini, host atau admin sudah mengaktifkan fitur interpretation. Bapak Ibu dipersilahkan untuk menggunakan Zoom versi terbaru agar fitur interpretation dapat bekerja dengan baik. The host has activated the interpretation feature. Ladies and gentlemen, you are expected to use Zoom. Please install the latest version for the interpretation feature work well. Please go to www.zoom.us/download. Mohon Bapak Ibu menonaktifkan mic atau mengklik tombol mute apabila tidak sedang berbicara. To help today's meeting run smoothly, please mute when you are not speaking. Jika Bapak Ibu ingin mendengarkan terjemahan dalam bahasa Indonesia, klik Interpretation, pilih Indonesian. Anda tidak perlu pindah channel saat berbicara. Jangan khawatir, pembicara dan interpreter dapat mendengar Anda. If you would like to listen in English, click Interpretation, then choose English. You don't need to change channel when speaking. Don't worry, the resource person and the interpreter will be able to hear your voice. Untuk pengguna Zoom Mobile, klik More untuk masuk ke pilihan berikutnya. Pilih Language Interpretation. Lalu pilih Indonesian untuk bahasa Indonesia. For Zoom mobile users, click More to go to the next choice. Then, choose Language Interpretation. Then, choose English for English. Mohon dipastikan bahwa Bapak Ibu sudah memilih salah satu bahasa yang akan digunakan. Karena jika Bapak dan Ibu tidak memilih, suara Bapak dan Ibu akan mengganggu pembicara dan proses penerjemahan. Terima kasih atas perhatian dan kerjasamanya. Please make sure that you have selected the correct language for not making any noises for both speakers and interpreters. Thank you for your attention and cooperation. Jika ada kendala mengenai fitur ini, silakan hubungi host yang sedang bertugas atau hubungi IT support. If you have any technical problems regarding this feature, feel free to chat the host on duty. Thank you. Katagonia's Guide for Zoom Users. Panduan Katagonia untuk pengguna Zoom. Saat ini, host atau admin sudah mengaktifkan fitur interpretation. Bapak Ibu dipersilahkan untuk menggunakan Zoom versi terbaru agar fitur interpretation dapat bekerja dengan baik. The host has activated the interpretation feature. Ladies and gentlemen, you are expected to use Zoom. Please install the latest version for the interpretation feature work well. Please go to www.zoom.us/download. Mohon Bapak Ibu menonaktifkan mic atau mengklik tombol mute apabila tidak sedang berbicara. To help today's meeting run smoothly, please mute when you are not speaking. Jika Bapak Ibu ingin mendengarkan terjemahan dalam bahasa Indonesia, klik Interpretation, pilih Indonesian. Anda tidak perlu pindah channel saat berbicara. Jangan khawatir, pembicara dan interpreter dapat mendengar Anda. If you would like to listen in English, click Interpretation, then choose English. You don't need to change channel when speaking. Don't worry, the resource person and the interpreter will be able to hear your voice.
Ministry of Finance Learning Week Day 2 is about to begin. But before that, let me take a moment to review a few technical details. Today's webinar will be conducted in English. However, it comes with English Indonesian simultaneous interpretation. To listen to the translation, click the globe icon or three dots icon or more, select interpretation, and choose English or Indonesian accordingly. It is advised that you do not click on the mute original audio, but should you wish to do so, to obtain a clear audio rendition, please make sure to manually switch off the interpretation when someone on the floor is speaking in the language that you are listening to. This webinar is also available on our YouTube channel. And that's all. Let us now begin the Ministry of Finance Learning Week Day 2, AI-powered digital coaching for professional development and well-being. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to Ministry of Finance Learning Week Day 2, AI-powered digital coaching for professional development and well-being. First of all, I would like to thank God the Almighty that has given us blessings to virtually attend this webinar. I now would like to extend a very warm welcome to the Chairman of Financial Education and Training Agency, Bapak Andin Hadianto, the Secretary of Financial Education and Training Agency, Bapak Bambang Juli Istanto, the Director of Leadership and Managerial Education and Training Center, Bapak Wahyu Kusuma Romadoni, our moderator, the Head of Pre-Departure Training Subdivision of Indonesia Endowment Fund for Education, Ibu Pramwidya M. Novia, and our special guest speaker, Anna A. Davis, PhD. Best regards to all participants who have joined us today, and we are very grateful for the enthusiasm of the participants, and I'm very pleased to announce that we have hundreds of participants who are joining this event via Zoom or our YouTube channel. Dear participants, to officially open this webinar, we are pleased to listen to the opening remarks by the Director of Leadership and Managerial Education and Training Center, Bapak Wahyu Kusuma Romadoni. Bapak Doni, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Siti. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. Good morning. Welcome to the second day of the Ministry of Finance Learning Week 2024. First of all, I would like to give my warm greetings to honorable senior official from the Ministry of Finance and other ministries and agencies, our speaker, Professor Anna Davis, our moderator, Ms. Pramwidya Masmur Novia, and distinguished participants. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to start with a saying. Change is the only constant in life. The saying by Heraclitus couldn't be more relevant for us at the Ministry of Finance as we navigate a massive shift in the way we do our jobs. We are shifting from a structured, hierarchical way of working where we rely on direction from the top to a more flexible, team-based approach. This change is necessary as we want to keep up with the increasing demands from our stakeholders and be agile enough to adapt as a team. While these increasing demands bring opportunities for growth, they also bring real challenges. Many of us are stepping up and contributing beyond our official roles, going above and beyond. This increased responsibility highlights the importance of supporting our physical and mental well-being. It is also a reminder of how crucial it is to create an environment where we can thrive both personally and professionally. According to Alvara Research Center in 2023, 27% of Gen Z respondents in Indonesia reported feeling constantly exhausted, one of the most common symptoms of burnout. Additionally, 28.3% of Gen Z respondents in 2021 expressed that they regularly experience anxiety. This data not only underscores the importance of providing better support system for our younger workforce, but also act as a reminder of the importance of creating mechanisms that support our employees' well-being. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where artificial intelligence comes into play. AI, which once felt like a futuristic concept, is now integrated into our lives in many ways. And it's time we use it to support our employees. At the Ministry of Finance, we are already using AI to recommend courses through our Kemenkeu Learning Center. We also use AI to generate insight from government laws, assist in locating subject matter expert through the expert locator module, and soon we'll be using AI to find candidates for vacant position within the Ministry of Finance. The next step is to leverage AI in our coaching programs. Ladies and gentlemen, coaching at the Ministry of Finance is not new. It's been practiced for decades and was reinforced through Government Regulation Number 30 of 2019, which governed performance evaluation for civil servants. However, the scope of coaching remains limited to performance management, focusing only on consultation and improvement in job execution. While as we evolve, so too must our coaching practices. Therefore, we need coaching that fosters both professional development and well-being. This is where AI can truly make a difference. With AI, employees no longer need to wait for scheduled coaching session because it can be available 24/7, providing support when they need it most. AI can also analyze individual data and preference, which then offer customized coaching that aligns with employee unique development goals. AI allows us to scale personalized coaching across the entire workforce with ease, especially in a large organization like the Ministry of Finance. Of course, implementing AI in coaching brings its challenges. There are concerns about privacy and the potential for AI bias, and we must ensure that the human touch remains integral in coaching. Transparency is key here, building trust with employees by clearly explaining how their data will be used and ensuring that AI serves as an aid, not a replacement for human interaction. Training will also be crucial. Both employees and coaches must learn to effectively use AI powered and integrate them into their coaching practices. Ladies and gentlemen, looking ahead, I envision a future when coaching at the Ministry of Finance is inclusive, accessible, and deeply personalized. This aligns perfectly with our broader transformation into a more agile organization. AI-driven coaching can foster a culture of continuous learning, growth, and well-being, helping us meet the demands of an ever-changing world. And that note, we are honored to have Professor Anay Tevis with us today. Good evening, Prof. Tevis. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation. I believe it is now around 10 p.m. in New York City. So very thank you once again for making time for us. Ladies and gentlemen, today Prof. Tevis will talk about AI-powered coaching for professional development and well-being. I believe her extensive insight will be incredibly valuable as we look to expand our coaching practices beyond performance and integrate AI to support both the professional growth and well-being of our employees. Last but not least, I wish you a very productive learning session today. Please take as much as possible of this session and then share it with your colleagues to help creating an even better working environment that fosters creativity and innovation. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much. I am so honored to be here. Okay, I know that it's not my space now. Okay, I'll wait for the introduction.
Sure. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Dr. Tavis and Padoni. Thank you so much for your opening remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, now is the time for the main event that we have been waiting for. But before that, let me introduce the moderator for today's session. She is currently the head of pre-departure training subdivision of Indonesia Endowment Fund for Education, or LPDP. She has been in a position as human resource business partner with advanced capabilities in people and organizational development for more than 8 years. Focused on care management for more than 5 years, she has been designing and driving integrated care management policy and implementation plan. Continuous learner who is truly interested in sharpening strategic thinking through work and conversations, she is eager to create change. Without further ado, Bu Widya, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Bu Siti, for an awesome introduction. I'm so honored to be here, and I would like to give a warm welcome to our honorable guests and audience who have joined us today, either in this Zoom meeting or through our YouTube channel. Thank you for joining with us. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start, I'd like to make a housekeeping announcement. Number one, if you don't mind, please keep your camera on and your microphone muted throughout the entire talk. Number two, the talk will go on for about 45 minutes, followed by a 20 minutes of Q&A session. Number three, feel free to ask your questions through several ways. If you're joining from Zoom, either you can write down your questions into Slido link and we will pick the questions and read it for the speaker, or you can click on the raise hand button and I will let you talk when it's time. You can unmute yourself, then you ask your question. If you're joining us through live streaming on YouTube, please write down your questions into the Slido link that we provide in the description box. Again, you can either write down your questions or by the raise hand feature on Zoom. All right, now let's talk about coaching. As we may know, Ministry of Finance has already implemented coaching approach in performance management area. We have control in doing coaching sessions by incorporating it into performance review period within a year. What if we expand this kind of coaching approach to far more than just a performance, but also for personal development and well-being of our employees? And how do you think AI tools can help the leaders in doing coaching? We will learn more about that topics today, but before that, please allow me to introduce our speaker first. Anna A. Tavis, PhD, who will deliver the talk about AI-powered digital coaching for professional development and well-being, is a clinical professor and chair of the Human Capital Management Department at New York University School of Professional Studies. Prior to joining the NYU faculty, Dr. Tavis navigated a diverse global career in business, consulting, and academia. In business, she has an extensive experience in human resource management area, such as being the head of Motorola's EMEA OD function based in London, and Nokia's global head of talent management based in Helsinki. She has been named to Thinkers 50 Radar in 2020 and to top 100 global influencers in people analytics in 2023 and 2024. Dr. Tavis is the co-author of the book Humans at Work, The Art and Practice of Creating the Hybrid Workplace, and also The Digital Coaching Revolution, which we will discuss deeper today. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Dr. Tavis. Good morning Indonesian time, Dr. Tavis, or I should say good evening in New York time.
Exactly. Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here, and I know it's a little bit late here, but I'm delighted to see how many people are online, and I hope that our conversation will be helpful. And I certainly and absolutely look forward to your questions and our discussion afterward. Thank you so much. A big honor for me, and I'm also very happy to see some of my former students who are now employees of the ministry and are bringing the knowledge that they gained here in our program at NYU back to Indonesia. We are absolutely delighted for that partnership. So on this note, I would like to start sharing my slides and make sure that everything is working here okay. You can see the slides, and I want to start with this question, which I tried to translate into Indonesian, as you could see here, with the uses of technology. That's the beauty of having the technology that we have now, that we can speak any language in the world that's available to us. So imagine that everyone in the organization could have a coach. And it's not just a coach for performance management. And I absolutely applaud you for introducing coaching in the performance management process, because that's definitely where it belongs. But today we are going to talk about coaching that could be embedded and integrated into all aspects of work. And we absolutely need to get to this point, because we are living through what I call AI vertigo right now. There's so much information about AI. There is so much change that is being expected, that all of us are a little confused, maybe anxious, as you pointed out, as to how do we navigate and succeed in this next generation technology. So what is going to work for us so that we could be on the winning side of this particular challenge? So what we're trying to accomplish here is to show the road from, the pandemic that we just had, where coaching was introduced because we tried to help. This digital coaching, remote coaching, was introduced through tools as a necessity, because it helped our employees get through the most difficult time. It was a quarantine, people were sitting at home, isolated, etc. So companies started to bring in these first coaching solutions, and I will give you an overview of how it evolved. But now we are at the point where we want to take it to the stage of thriving, when all of our employees are going to be successfully using coaching to succeed at every point in their performance and their productivity, and even in their personal lives. So let's take ourselves on this journey. First, I want to start with this quote that I really, really like. And, you may agree or disagree with it, but in the past, it says, jobs were about the muscle. Today, they're about the brain. And we talk about data, we talk about STEM, we talk about all of those brainy things. But in the future, jobs will be about the heart. And the woman who said that was the chancellor of London School of Economics, and an economist herself. So what is this about the heart? What is this that will make us more human, in fact, more uniquely human, uniquely positioned to be in the place where we are, within our jobs? And that's exactly what I want to make a case for you here in this presentation. So why are we talking about coaching now? That's the question. All right. So I think our number one priority is the acceleration of learning with a rate of change. And most importantly, the biggest challenge is the skills, what we call here skills obsolescence. Skills are becoming outdated, replaced with technology, and humans will need to have the learning curve accelerated, shortened, and to get us to the point where we need to be at each turn of the technology. So we need to make our learning to create a very fast learning cycle. And so that's where I think the future of learning and performance overall will be in connecting the brilliance of people with the power of technology. This is what I was exploring in my book. And it's not about replacing people. There's a lot of fear around technology replacing people. It's really about what we can do, what humans can do if they're powered by the most effective way of learning, which is personalized and accessible coaching approach. This is when the full potential of employees, of humans in general, is going to come out. So that's the argument. So imagine if you had a coach available to you 24/7 who is looking after your interest, knows you very well, knows your entire history, etc. What kind of environment will it create? It will definitely be inclusive, personalized. It will allow access, again, 24/7. And it will also allow scale, which means it will be delivered, different parts in the organization, different geographies. If you are a global organization, it will be also delivered in multiple languages, just as we have it now. So this is the difference that AI coach brings. Let me put it in the context of how coaching as a methodology of learning evolved. So coaching actually is a very old, ancient practice of learning and self-improvement. Some take it back. In every culture, there'll be their own way of, delivering coaching or doing coaching, and different national traditions. But here, we kind of refer to the Greeks. This is a Socratic dialogue. Those of you who studied philosophy know that there was a Greek philosopher, Socrates, whose whole method of education was around conducting these dialogues with his disciples. The word coach itself is, interestingly enough, connected with the very first technology of coaching. It was a coach or a carriage that transported Oxford University students in England to their tutors. That's how the connection was made between the coach, this carriage, and tutoring or learning. It actually goes back to medieval England. Today, and I know you mentioned that you're already doing professional coaching, executive coaching. This is a fairly widely practiced way of developing mostly executives. And the reason for this being such an exclusive sort of domain where only the most senior people in organizations learn is because it depends on a very unique relationship between a coach and a client. It's very time and resource intensive if it's done human to human. It's very expensive. It tends to be very expensive because these engagements are normally running at about 6 months, etc. And oftentimes these coaching professionals are not really regulated. They call themselves coaches, but it's just the regulation, certification, and education of coaching is just beginning to emerge. In fact, at NYU, we developed our very first in the US Masters of Science degree in executive coaching and organizational consulting. And imagine that this is just the first time that there is an educational degree in the United States in this particular area. So as you can see, this is where the non-technology enabled coaching really sits. Where does coaching sit in organizations? It's most important to us to have managers and leaders who have those coaching skills. We often talk about managers as coaches. However, as you can see in this one, the role of the manager, who are the backbone of our organization, that's where they create businesses. The role of the manager is very, very challenging because it's split between having to deliver to deadlines, execute tasks, have a constraint on the time scale, etc., and have lots of other responsibilities on the one hand, and on the other, there is a expectation from the employees that this manager is going to be coaching them, mentoring them, teaching them, helping them navigate very complex careers, et cetera, et cetera. So as a result, because of all of these conflicting expectations, the manager roles in organizations have become very, very complex. And again, with multiple expectations of the manager from the senior leadership in the organization as well as the employees. So lots of stress. So that's where, having an option of separating out coaching for employees, especially when it comes to careers, when it comes to career progression, learning and development, acquiring new skills, et cetera, needed to be supported as soon as the technology in that space emerged. The rise of coaching platforms, and all of these names, and they're just a few, there are many more, but these are the major ones out there, started before the pandemic. It was an exercise in matching individuals. Also, it has to do with technology through Zoom, Skype, and other types of tools, even phone coaching sessions. All of this emerged before COVID. However, it's during the pandemic that organizations started to engage these particular platforms as a way of helping their distributed employees who were remote, oftentimes isolated in their homes, and they still had to do their work. They needed help. They needed both mental health. That's where the support was really, really needed from the health and wellness perspective, as well as in just doing their jobs, because managers were not always available. So how do you do that? So multiple organizations started engaging with these platforms, and this is where the industry began to emerge and bloom at the time of COVID. However, we are now at a different stage in the maturity of this particular technology and approach. As far as the fully automated coaching is concerned, what I showed you before were the platforms which were operating similar to what we're doing now through Zoom. You have your coach, and you connect with your coach through a screen, and it's a live person doing the coaching sessions. However, as technology evolved, what started to emerge as fully automated coaching solutions. The very first basic step was chatbots. We're all familiar with chatbots. Very basic exchanges. And in fact, some of the most effective chatbots introduced in companies were in the performance management cycle. When instead of going to your manager to set your goals, you were guided by these chatbots that were programmed to the needs of the organization, but with very specific questions. Clearly, the manager had to approve and accept the goals, et cetera, et cetera. But some of the most basic questions, as well as the scheduling and ensuring that employees are actually completing their goal setting sessions, all of that could be done through chatbots. What we have now is the next generation technology, co-pilots through Microsoft Copilot you see there, but there are multiple other assistants that are beginning to emerge, and those particular systems are embedding coaching solutions into their tools. Right now, if you are in the Google environment, for example, you already know as you start, sending, say emails to me, and I don't speak Indonesian, Google will immediately ask me if I need a translation, right? So these are the kinds of assistants that are beginning to emerge. Again, fully automated. There are no humans involved in that particular process. And the next generation, and I'm trying to show it to you here, the next generation of automation are actually voice-enabled coaches who are specifically targeting your own development, your own needs. They learn because it's a machine learning and algorithmically driven process. But these tools are beginning to learn everything they need to know about you personally. And that's what's remarkable about this next generation agents or coaches that are coming in. They can actually be solely dedicated to you, even if you have thousands and thousands of employees in your organization. You can engage a whole, group of agents, and each and every employee can have their personal coach. Imagine how much more effective, productive, and efficient we could be if we get this type of assistance 24/7 in any language and available to us as we need them. So here I kind of outlined to you how I see the stack of different functions in the organization, starting out with business. And, all of it is enabled through technology, which allow us to collect data all the way from, it's called multimodal data collection, where you collect data from all the business functions as the foundation, creating a data lake. Let's say as we're moving up toward coaches, the data lake on all of your employees. Again, there's privacy, et cetera. You are not going to be able to specifically identify which data came from where, but collectively, you're looking at a fairly massive amount of data on, your overall organizational status, where you are, what the sentiment is, et cetera. All of it could be then sliced and diced and organized in what is now called talent intelligence. So, as data lake is just like a lake, it's collecting all the data in one big pool. However, the next generation technology is going to help us sort this out into different domains and make sense of that particular data. For example, in our space of HR, career development, every employee is interested in career development. So this talent intelligence layer can actually organize all of the openings in the organization. It can break down jobs into skills skills-based. I know you're going to have a session on skills-based organization. So this is what's now called talent intelligence. So we make sense of all the data that's collected across the organization. And what it will be doing next is kind of reading out semantic data, organizing by agents. Next layer, agentic economy that are going to be able to do tasks for us. For example, scheduling, some basic tasks for us. All of it is going to be automated. It's already automated. All of this technology exists. And on the very, very top of this pyramid, I put AI coaches who are going to be your personal assistants, who are going to be not only helping you navigate this complexity of all the data, of all the information available to you through your organization, but they're also going to be giving you advice, options, etc., feedback. Not exactly like your personal coach, a human coach or a manager. You can go to the manager with the right questions to ask, but you will already be prepared because through all of these multiple steps, the information about the company, about your options, about your responsibilities, about your goals is going to be organized and prepared for you to take an action on. And so how do I see this? Where does this coaching fit in? I actually see it as a Venn diagram with general purpose AI. Everything you're hearing every day about AI is really the majority of the conversation in this task execution. And that's where autonomous agents come in. These agents are going to be responsible for tasks. We're talking about replacing jobs, replacing skills, et cetera, et cetera. And if we left it just there, on a task, it's a very scary situation because what am I supposed to do? And what I'm proposing and what these coaching companies are proposing is just as much as AI is going to take away our tasks, we are going to get, if we're smart, a lot of support in our ability to learn, in our ability to change, in our ability to personally develop ourselves, because we are going to have just as powerful technology, and we already have it. It's just not evenly distributed. Powerful technology to help us navigate that complexity and collaborate with the technology that's going to be, supporting us on the execution of tasks. So it's kind of the yin and yang, the push and pull. And I think we need to be aware that just as much as AI is a threat, it's also is an opportunity. And let me give you an example. If you think, all right, this is not making sense to me, I want to bring you two different domains where I was looking, researching, doing a lot of interviews to make sure that, we kind of have a path to follow. And what's coming ahead of the workplace now is the experience of sports, especially high performance sports, as well as medicine. Some of you might have watched the Olympics. I don't know. We were all riveted watching our TV screens with the French Olympics in Paris. And as you can imagine, no high-performing athlete can do what they're currently doing without the technology available to us. So the reason we have such high performance coming from the athletes is because they've been using these tools that are just beginning to come into corporate and government organizations. They've been using them for a while to achieve the athletic performance that they are achieving. Similar type of experience we're going to have in the workplace. And the same thing with telemedicine. Telemedicine used to be, very underdeveloped until COVID came, and that's when we started to really apply the same kind of principles that we see in sports. So what we're seeing in sports, and I'm saying that this is a metaphor and a sort of a picture for you to keep in mind when you think about what is possible in the workplace. We're seeing a lot of tools, especially wearable technology, combined with coaching, some basic feedback, a lot of data that are processed by these technologies that are wearables, implants, and even the clothing that these top athletes are wearing. And now it's becoming available to everyday athlete. Even the clothing are done with a lot of technology, a lot of data embedded in them, with an understanding of how to enhance the performance. So to enhance performance, we need the tech. We need to set the new standards in training and management. That's sports. In healthcare, here is a highlights from an earnings call. That's from the CEO of Oracle, that talks about digital assistants who already listen to doctors' consultation with a patient, generate, a feedback, prescriptions, even recommendations. Clearly, doctors will have to make the final decision. However, imagine how much more effective this type of consultation with a doctor could be. And this is what we call working at the top of the license. It's really a term that's often used in healthcare in the US, meaning that every doctor, and especially in our very high-tech healthcare system, actually spends the majority of their time documenting things and writing them down and capturing them in the computer, et cetera, et cetera. And that's not where the highly skilled professional in healthcare needs to spend their time. They need to spend time with a human. And so if we put these agents, these additional coaches in place, then the manager's time, the coach's time, the doctors' and nurses' time will be spent on interacting with the patients, when all of the other tasks are going to be taken care of. That's how I see the complementarity of these particular tools with the professionals. And, one of the questions that always comes up is around empathy. What we value about the human connection is this kind of empathetic relationship there, where we understand each other, etc., as human to human. So is this possible that humans could also get emotional support and empathetic support from these tools? And here's what's very rarely discussed when we talk about AI, because everyone looks at AI as a tech. And let me tell you, I do not think it's the same kind of technology that we've experienced before. What's unique about this is these technologies are going to be acting and operating more like real human companions and real empathetic beings. The question often asked, if you get a response from your AI coach that sounds very empathetic, is this an authentic empathy? This is the pushback I always get from people. So here are the companies that are already, a lot of them are US companies, by the way. And again, I apologize. I'm just presenting to you what's kind of reality here in the US. So these companies specialize in sentimental, in what's called affective, from affect, a feeling, from affective computing. So these are the names of companies. And what's really interesting is that the big technology companies like Microsoft, IBM, etc., they're acquiring mostly startups that specialize in the recognition and ability to relate to humans at the emotional level. So all of them are beginning definitely to be integrated into the tools that we carry around. So very soon, we are going to have empathetic phones, automobiles, and other types of tools that are not just going to be a piece of hardware, but also will be able to relate to us emotionally. And here are some facts and data. Can computers really understand emotions? Questions. In fact, what we are finding is the well-trained AI could be even better and more accurate in recognizing emotions. For example, in speech, whether you are speaking in an angry voice, tired, or whatever, the accuracy of software identifying what kind of emotional state you are at, as opposed to a human recognition, is higher. Same thing, facial recognition, emotional simulation. A chatbot or a robot AI can pick up on how you act. It's often used in customer care now, and respond in the respected way, in the way that corresponds, either making you feel a lot more comfortable, making you feel more, rested, or whatever emotion you bring, and the counteractive healing response you can get from the your AI coach. It's already elements of these empathetic tools and emotion recognition and emotional AI is beginning to show up now in marketing, customer service, and automotive. As you might have heard, like the cars are already beginning to pick up on, again, through, as you're holding to, if you're not in a self-driving car, the cars already can have a sense of whether you're fatigued, and can make a recommendation, just like a coach, to tell you to take a break, pull up, not drive anymore because it's dangerous, et cetera, et cetera. So all of the tools around us are beginning to recognize our emotions and support us in their respective way. So where these technologies are beginning to be generally implemented, where we see in senior care with adults, senior adults, oftentimes it's isolation, social isolation, etc. And I know that in Indonesia, it may be more the responsibility of the family. But what do you do with people who do not have family and they're aging, etc.? So you can see these robots are very effectively introduced into senior care, customer care, and it's really with the initial resistance to having a bot being your customer care provider, kind of being strange. Now, the only time when customers, very relevant to financial services, for example, when customers are dissatisfied with a robot or AI in customer care is only when it doesn't work. But when it works, they actually prefer to operate through technology. We're also finding in special education, with individuals with neurodiversity, et cetera, that require a special approach. There's a huge shortage of special education teachers, and obviously bringing in these technologies is going to provide a great solution. So the uses, and these are just a few examples that I'm bringing to you here, the uses of these technologies are going to be universal. Again, the question is, as I mentioned, is artificial empathy built into these machines still empathy? And the answer is, we all can agree that the human empathy is much more valuable. However, and this is the case where, we need those machines, is when there's no empathy, there's no support, there's no coaching available. So to fill those gaps and bring in tools that are going to be so supportive, so effective in helping people get to a better place, develop their careers, learn new skills, etc., it's much better than the lack of this type of support. So what I consider here is this type of organizational empathy, or delivered through coaching, personalized, accessible, and inclusive, is a superpower for every organization. And here is an example. This is one company that I'm working with. The company is Valiance. And they introduced this coach, Nadia. So this is a full AI coach. Every employee in the organization and major companies. Most recently, I've heard that Delta Airlines, one of the key largest airlines in the United States and probably the world, just contracted this particular company to provide coaching to all of their employees, including, people working in the airports, working on the planes, et cetera, et cetera. Everyone has a coach in their pocket. And the name is Nadia. Voice driven. You don't need to type anything. You just talk into your device. It says, whatever goals you set for yourself, it sends proactive emails, follow-ups, and nudges, which reminds you that you need to do certain things that you set for yourself. It's customized to a company. Let's say the Ministry of Finance decides that your values, your organizational values, your leadership principles, your career development paths are what your employees need to have access to. So it's easy to train those machines on your specific organizational artifacts or your specific elements. Again, this empathetic AI is built in. It responds by recognizing what kind of state. You could say, I'm very anxious, I'm concerned, et cetera, et cetera. And there are programmed empathetic responses. And most importantly, it's now available in 80 languages. And I think Indonesian is also included there. And here's what the CEO of that company says, Parker Mitchell. He's a founder and CEO of this company. And he said, we built Nadia with a vision that in a few years or less, everyone at work can have their personal work coach, one that gives them support, tips, guidance, and allows them to be their best self, to learn and reach their full potential with the help of those tools. So what do we need to do? What do leaders need to do who want to introduce this type of empathetic coaching? So again, it needs to go beyond individual interactions. It's not just on the level of one-on-one. We can scale this type of relationship with our employees through these technologies, through these agents. But we need to be very thoughtful, and this is a new job. You know, we thought our jobs are going away, the old jobs are going away, the new jobs are going to come in, and how do we design organization-wide AI coaching program that can, you know, be effective, tuned into and trained on our own organizational needs, delivered to the employees, and support the culture of the organization that you want to build, maintain, and sustain at the time of so much change. And this process is just beginning. And one thing I want to tell you as a researcher myself, you know, we have a lot of psychological research on the effectiveness of coaching, et cetera, et cetera. But the research on the interaction between technology and humans is just beginning, because these tools are being put into the circulation just as we speak. And it's sort of by piloting, experimenting, and learning on the fly is how we are progressing. But the future is really with all of these multiple coaches and agents that are going to be supporting us and bridging the gap between humans and technology. It will allow us to have continuous learning, reskilling, upskilling for humans and AI collaboration, redesigning workflows, embedding these tools into the workflows, redefining roles, a very important conversation about AI governance and oversight. How will organization control for all of these different experiments, facilitating the transition, and also very, very important challenges and opportunities for the new type of leadership in this in this environment. And on this note, I want to thank you for, I don't know how long I went, but I want to thank you for your patience. And I hope I didn't scare everyone with my with what we are working on here. And I will be very, very happy to answer any questions that you have and see where we can find our facilitators to help us.
Thank you, Dr. Tafis, for the insightful talk. I found your presentation really evoking, and I think all our audience feel the same, because now we have 1,000 participants learning with us, both from Zoom and YouTube channel. Yeah. From your presentation, I found that these AI tools are not replacing real human interaction between us and the leaders or colleagues, right? Yeah. But the main goal is to have them as an assistance, maybe for reflecting our improvements or goal progress that we record as a data. So I believe these AI tools would be a huge help for such a big organization with thousands of employees like the Ministry of Finance. However, I am a bit curious. How can we, as an HR, encourage our employees to use these tools independently, while we used to run to our supervisor or to our colleagues when we need advice or feedback? What do you think?
Yes,
Dr. Tafis? Yeah.
I think you know, we are already using, you know, ChatGPT, right? It's been in other types of tools. I mean, obviously, Google is coming out with these tools are now going to be built into our personal devices, just like with, you know, consumer technology. Everything shows up first in the consumer space, and then it makes its way into organization. Obviously, what the organization needs to do is really to set up the governance of how these tools are going to be used internally. Because obviously, especially in financial services, that there's so much regulation, so much compliance, there's so much privacy and protection, that it's one thing to use these technologies for personal needs, for your exercise routine, your shopping, etc. The other is, how do we use them inside our organizations? And I think you need to be thinking about, first of all, really talk to other financial institutions. Like, for example, I know we're working here in the US with some insurance companies that are also very highly regulated, as well as banks. They're bringing these tools to help their employees, as I mentioned, first get even through the performance management system, right? So performance management process, but then in every single step of milestone of employee life cycle, for example, in recruitment, onboarding, very, very important opportunity. So my recommendation is, use it very carefully, experiment, and identify areas in the employee life cycle where you would find that putting these tools in place will help you better understand how they could be used. And again, most effectively, employee onboarding. When you're bringing new employees in, imagine a lot of questions that new employees asked are pretty much standard, right? They're not unique. So if each and every employee who joins your organization gets a personal coach that will be programmed to your processes, protocols, policies, et cetera, and kind of replacing the human being, you're freeing up your professionals and helping people get the knowledge they need much, much faster. So that will be my recommendation. Small steps, very controlled, so that the organization understands better of how to use it. And once you do it successfully, you learn from it, you can continue to expand.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Tafis. So we need to set up the governance and control on it, and of course doing the experiment where we can put the tools in employee life cycle. All right, thank you so much. All right, Dr. Tafis, we now have someone who raised hand. Yes. I'd like to call upon the Mrs. Dia, I think. Am I right? Yes. Hello, Miss Dia. You
Hello.
can introduce yourself first, and then you can ask your question to Dr. Tafis.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm Dia from Kemendikbudristek, the Ministry of Education, Research and Extra. It's a long name. Mrs. Davis, I would like to know, how do we can elevate our humanity so we can still check the AI instead of the other way around, that we control by the AI. And the second is how we can keep to, about the basic knowledge, that we can share, that the coach can share to the coachee in these AI things, how we can integrate the basic knowledge to keep on, to be shared to our juniors. Thank you. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think, first of all, it doesn't mean, I think you summed up really well that I'm not saying that the humans are going to be replaced. They're just going to be, like, our ability to transmit our knowledge, to share our knowledge, to is going to be extended. If before it was very limited to the people who were just in front of us, right? Especially organizational knowledge, that's what we're talking about. Remember I showed you kind of the pyramid. So the technology is able to ingest all of the data. It takes, an individual so long to understand the entire rules of the organization. Think of the onboarding, especially in the Ministry of Finance. How long does it take? How long have you been working for the ministry? Probably many years, right? Or a few years, and you collected that knowledge. And imagine you train your technology, and that coach can share that knowledge in minutes, right? So it doesn't take 5 years for you to understand how your HR operations work. You program your AI coach, and they're able to share this knowledge really fast with so many people that there's no way one person can do it, right? So that's how you enhance. So humans are still at this point, we don't know, we don't know where it's all going to end up, but at this point humans are in charge, right? We are in charge, and it's your knowledge that gets amplified. And it's available to other people 24/7. Whereas, if I need to make an appointment with you, you're a busy professional, you are working hard, and you don't have time for all of the new people who are coming in. You may have, half an hour during the week. But this way, that's how it works. And we're not being replaced, we're being extended and augmented. Does that make sense? Okay. Excellent
Alright.
question.
Yeah, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Bu Diah. Dr. Tevis, we also have another questions. I think now we have Ibu Wening. Oh, I'm sorry. I think it's Ibu Nadila. I'm sorry. Ibu Nadila, please shortly introduce yourself and then you can ask your question.
Okay, thank you so much. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
I can hear you.
Hi everyone. Good morning. My name is Nadila Fortuna. I'm from the State Treasury Office of KPPN Toli-Toli, one of the district in Central Sulawesi. Firstly, thank you so much, Dr. Travis, for the very thoughtful and insightful and engaging presentation you presented earlier. I found it very informative, and I would like to appreciate this opportunity to ask a deeper understanding of some key points that you mentioned earlier. So earlier, you mentioned a lot about these AI coaching approach where their digital coaches are going to be able to give us feedbacks, to give us recommendations, and also guidance, for instance, to our, not just for our works, but also for our development, for our self-development, for our potentials. Now, we understand that these machines have their personalized insight, right? They already have these personalized insight to actually respond to us as the coaches itself. Now, my question is that how can we actually balance the personalized feedback from AI coaching so that the need of the human empathy, the empathy that we needed from these from these digital coaches can make us feel supported by these machines, by the answers of these machines. So we're not just being judged or being controlled, but we're also being supported in a most humanity way. Thank you.
A really excellent question.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me reframe it a little bit and kind of compare your questions with a human. Imagine that you had to ask for guidance, feedback, et cetera, from your manager, right? And your manager is, a powerful person, right? Your manager is somebody who is in charge, making a lot of decisions about your career, et cetera, et cetera. To what extent would you feel comfortable showing to your manager that you don't know something that's very, very simple? A lot of times people would actually feel, this is what we're finding by introducing these tools, that people are more comfortable in certain situations to be asking AI rather than a human, because it's devoid of judgment. You know that it's just a technology. Technology is not going to judge you. You can ask anything you want, but if you might not be comfortable showing to your manager that you don't understand what, what's involved in your job, right? This is what the personal coach can do for you. So, and there are multiple situations like this where people feel more comfortable asking, especially some easy questions, personal questions, etc., asking technology to interact with them rather than a human, because they're concerned about the human who may be judgmental, who may say, wow, I don't expect you, I expect you to know it, or, you don't know how the human is going to respond. And you can always rely on AI to be supportive of you, because AI has been trained that way. Clearly, look, this is an evolving technology. I'm not saying that AI knows all the answers, not at all, right? We are working on it, but it's getting more and more accurate every day, and it will be learning from you. This is not a calculator, ladies and gentlemen. This is a different kind of technology, what I was trying to show you. This is a technology that's going to learn from you every minute you interact with it. And it has memory, and it's going to, take all of those data that a human can't process. We just can't process the data. We program differently. So in many ways, what you are asking, it's not taking away your humanity. It's supporting your humanity. At the same time, all of the decisions, the final decisions, are left with you. Like in that example of the medical doctor, whose AI assistant does all of the, recording, and et cetera, and AI can go through multiple analysis, et cetera, and present a doctor with a whole list of options. And the doctor then say, based on all of these symptoms and all of the research, here is what I think from my human experience, I make a decision. So, human is in the loop, but you will have to decide as an individual which question you are going to take to a human, your manager, and which question you're going to ask AI. And I guarantee that at first you will be referring to the manager by habit, but more and more, as you get more comfortable with these tools, you're going to say, I don't want to bother my manager with this. This is a little question, and etc. I can resolve it right here, right now. Does that make sense? Am I answering your question?
Crystal clear. Thank you so much, Dr. Travis.
All right.
All right, thank you so much, Ibu Nadila. Again, Dr. Tafis, we have one question from now Ibu Wening. Yes, Ibu Wening, please, the time is yours.
Okay. Well, thank you for the opportunity, Bu Widya. I'm Moni from VETA, or BPPK. Well, Dr. Chavis, we all know that the use of AI is inevitable, and I think we should start seeing it as an opportunity rather than a concern. So, as we integrate AI into our coaching practices, I'd like to ask you how we measure its effectiveness in achieving this balance. Thank you so much, Dr. Davis and Ibu Widya.
How you measure it, right? I think
Yes.
it's an excellent question. Very, very good question. What are the tools you are currently using for measuring performance, employee satisfaction, engagement, the overall kind of cultural sentiment in the organization? So I think, if there are multiple, depending on where you're going to be deploying these coaching tools. Eventually, as I said, they're going to be built into all of our tools. But for example, in the onboarding process, you can accelerate the time to productivity. Like onboarding, we measure time to productivity, and it usually takes about 6 months for a person from the time that they been recruited to the time when they are fully comfortable in the organization. My prediction is with these tools, and this is an easy place to introduce this type of coaching in the onboarding process, because most of the questions are going to be answered right away, available to the new employee all the time. I suspect that you can shorten that time to productivity period to a number of weeks. So it's not even going to be months. It's going to be, in a matter of 3-4 weeks, people are going to feel very comfortable and supported in the organization. So that's an example with onboarding. You can, in the performance management cycle, you can look at how goal completion, how fast, how many employees have completed setting their goals and in what period of time. And I bet you that with these coaches, people can do it so much faster than if they had to go to their manager all the time. Obviously, manager will have to approve, etc., but it's just the approval process. At the same time, it also frees up manager time to do more, coaching rather than managing on most transactional aspect of their jobs. So I think you're going to see efficiency everywhere, and productivity will increase. And you might want to have more time for your people to, do more high level, tasks than just doing regular administrative work.
Instalasi pemasangan smart doors.
Much Bu Wening for the questions. Dr. Tevis, because of the very limited time, I think I'd like to close up with one question from Slido, because actually we have several questions from Slido as well. The question came from Arif. Yes. He asked, how can we ensure that AI-driven coaching is accessible and user-friendly for all employees, especially those who may not be as comfortable with technology?
Excellent question. I think there are so many tools right now available. There are many companies, and just like and again, you are not going to experience it as technology, because a lot of times when you say people are not comfortable with technology, we kind of think more of the old school technology, the hardware, et cetera, et cetera. What's amazing about these particular tools, they don't feel like technology. They feel like a conversation. Like Nadia that I showed you just open an app. All you have to do is have an app, and then you talk to it, and it talks back to you in your language. So you will be surprised. Obviously, there's a little bit of a psychological adjustment that will need to happen, but you will be surprised how easy it is to use these types of tools, and how you can make them work for you, how fast you can make them work for you. And you're going to train these tools on your information. As I said, they will look and feel just like anybody else. It'll be a natural kind of transition. So it's not what we've been doing before. Obviously, there's a lot of technology that's going on the back end, but we are not running, algorithms, et cetera, et cetera. Your responsibility will be to have an informed RFP process, if let's say something like that will be of interest, and pick a reliable partner, technology partner, who's going to bring these tools. But from the user perspective, it's extremely seamless, very fluid, and actually, as I said, feels very much like you're just in a conversation with somebody. So with your coach, right? You will kind of assume, you give it a name, and you assume that it's somebody like your friend. What's the transition there? So, but I think there's work to be done at the organizational level. How you're going to make sure that these particular coaches are working for the Ministry of Finance, right? And not anyone else.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Tafis. All right, we have so many intriguing and excellent questions here. I appreciate all the discussions and I can feel our enthusiasm today. However, due to limited time, I think we need to end this session here. But before that, Dr. Tafis, is there any few last messages you'd like to address to our audience regarding our topic?
No, I think it's a very exciting time. Really, there are people who, how we have the optimists and the pessimists about technology, and I'm sort of in the middle. I think if we have an opportunity, and I'd like us to look at the opportunity and what it could do for us humans, but at the same time, we have to learn how to live with these tools. They're not
Yes.
going away.
Yeah.
And we just need to make that jump, psychological jump and personal jump, and coaching is what we need even to
Yes.
deal with all of the technology that's coming our way.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tafis, for a meaningful lesson today and, of course, for being with us. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, please give a big hand to Dr. Tafis. Thank you so much, Dr. Tafis. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid that this is the end of our today's session with Dr. Anna Tafis. Throughout this session, we learned that changes are coming rapidly, skills are becoming outdated, and our jobs would likely to be replaced by technology. We need to make a very fast learning cycle, and we cannot just set aside the use of technology, especially AI. However, it'll be useful to bear in mind that these AI tools are not replacing our real human interactions or relationships, or even replace our leaders' duty, but to be our assistants in setting up the goal, documenting the process, as well as reflecting our progress. Again, thank you so much for all the questions we have here, and thank you for being with us today. I'd like to give the screen back to our MC, Bu Siti. Back to you, Bu Siti.
And thank you so much, Dr. Tavis, for giving your insightful presentation. And thank you also for Bu Widya for moderating the session. So ladies and gentlemen, sadly, we have come to the end of our session. But do not forget to fill out the evaluation form on the QR code next to me, or in the chat box. You can fill the evaluation form to get a certificate. So that's the end. Stay safe. And I'm Siti. At last, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.